like and subscribe. What is the story behind your trust issues? Enough people talking behind your back, making fun of you, and then turning around and pretending they have a heart of gold will do that. Being cheated on, lied to, made to believe they really wanted to marry me, rape, verbal abuse. I love and respect you. Being a child who was constantly shown that the people in positions of power over them, that were supposed to trust and care for them, would actually always choose to use that power to abuse, manipulate, and control. You then grow up feeling like you can only rely on you, and anyone who seems trustworthy is actually dangerous. And that's on therapy LMAO. Wife and her sister's husband in our bed. My wife has been eyeing another guy for several weeks. We have been married for 6 months. She didn't even tell me on her own. I had to initiate the conversation first. She didn't even end the cheating completely because she is unsure about her feelings. We also have a 3-year-old son. The conversation was last week. Guys, this is that completely destroys you emotionally. I've never been so hopeless. Get a lawyer. Get a paternity test. Get the out of there. As a kid, 90% of my friends were nice to me, but really hated me. Only reason I knew was because my twin sister told me they went to her to complain about me. I learned from them to see when someone was holding back from me. Turns out my whole family has similar signs. They still hide stuff from me, but they fill me in on their thoughts after the fact now. Still, it did a number on me. Still don't know why those kids disliked me so much. Parents never really believed me about anything, even when I had an alibi. The worst part is them telling me I will not get in trouble if I tell them the truth, which I was. My ex cheating on me and blaming me for it. Foster care LMAO. Too much broken trust and heartbreak when it comes to relationships. People taking me for granted, emotional abuse, gaslighting, and partners cheating on me. When I was /14, things didn't go well at school, and I was forced into psych treatment. Not going to school enough broke a law. When I mean treatment, I mean I had to live inside clinics. It was hell. I had a ton of different diagnoses, lots of different meds, don't really wanna know what that did to my brain chemistry, moved around a ton. I wanted to be in school, because I was a good student, mostly skipped because home situation was too much, and I couldn't sleep, and they told me no, you need treatment, and I ended up doing unpaid manual labor with people with severe cognitive abilities. Then when their caretakers notice you're capable, they don't help you get back into school. They tell you to watch over the people they're supposed to be watching, and have you do their job. At my first clinic during the intake, the head psychiatrist told me they were going to break me, so they could rebuild me, and I believe they tried exactly that, but failed at the rebuilding part. After the work assignments, they noticed I had low self-confidence, and their therapeutic solution was to make me fill out a compliment book, where I was forced to write down things, like I'm proud of having done the dishes today. I wasn't proud of that. I'm actually back in school now, and it turns out, as we always knew, I'm a good student. My teachers recommend me to apply at university when I'm done there. I do not see why I had to waste 10 years before going back to school. I was in clinics until around 22. I never really met anyone outside them. I did try for some time, but I don't know how to tell people, and yeah, so I live in a mental ward. I'm 26 now, and despite people telling me I look good and am nice to talk with, I'm a virgin, don't have friends. I dislike this, and I tried changing it before and will again, but it's hard. Before all the psych crap, I never had trouble making friends. Actually made a lot of them during treatments too, but those don't last. I smoked weed for a long time because it helped me deal with the anxiety, but at the end of the day that's a really bad solution. I'm quitting now for the 4th time, and it is hell. The nightmares are killing me. I want to get through it though. So bad I even went back to a therapist, which was a bad decision. I have major trust issues. I don't trust myself, I don't trust most other people, and I don't trust the way society is set up. I always enjoyed human contact and still do, but it causes me so much anxiety at this point I just break down. I overthink every encounter I have for multiple days trying to find some error that will lead to something horrible like me being forced back in therapy. I get really suicidal because I don't see a way out right now. Sometimes you see some criminal in the news, and they say he had a diagnosis, he received psych treatment as some testimony to the idea that they are really just crazy and that's why they did what they did. It upsets me. I think therapy is what caused them to lash out. I don't trust like that. 3 issues, all of which are finally resolved as of this year. Only took 16 years. My father used to interrogate me as a kid on my mother's doing after their divorce. Imagine an 8-year-old kid getting grilled for information and being told it's okay to tell him because he's your dad. But knowing a massive fight will break out if you do so. He tried to gaslight me afterwards, saying it was all a dream and that he would never do this. He did this weekly for years. My uncle got close to me over a summer and then proceeded to molest me. Told me people would hate me if I ever said it happened. When I did reveal this secret, he convinced my mother's family I seduced him and wanted it. I was 9. My mother is the only one that recognizes I was a victim, not the perpetrator. My best friend and I tried dating each other in high school. Worked alright, till we tried to have sex. Molestation issue stopped me. Situation felt familiar. Filled me with disgust and fear which negated teenage horniness. He dumped me after I left his house and our friendship came to an end. Dated this girl I always caught red-handed cheating, and she would flat out deny it ever happened days later. That messed me up. Funny part was down the line, when she would say things like, "The problem is you don't trust me, that's why we always fighting, never trusted a girl ever again." My ex tied me to a chair and said we were going to have some fun. She then has her ex come into the room, made me watch her him. That and a few months later, she broke my hand with a hammer. Edit. Given so many people have commented, just wanted to add to this and say that I'm perfectly fine now. Really? It all happened 25 years ago. Thank you all for the kindness just the same. I don't know if it's trust issues, per se, but I'm very hard-nosed about not taking from anybody. I had a physically abusive first husband and an emotionally abusive second husband, and I simply will not lay down and take any kind of abuse from anyone anymore. This has cost me a friendship or two, but frankly, if that is how they are going to be, they aren't my friends after all. Like I'd tell a stranger on the internet. Fool me once. I've been betrayed, cheated on, stolen from, used and abused, and a lot of other stuff, but I still give people a measure of trust. I don't trust people with my life, but I do trust them to a degree. It mostly backfires, but not all the time. I can't imagine completely isolating myself because of the crappy variety of humans. I see human relations as a sifting process, so it absolutely hurts when trusting someone backfires, but I'm at a place where I know what category to put them. Conversely, it's absolutely magical to find a person or two who are just so consistent and human, but as good to you as can be expected. It makes up for all the trashy humans you had to process through your filtering system. Don't give up on finding a handful of people who will be sincerely good to you over the course of your lifetime. They do exist, and you can be one to them as well. I hate it when the trash takes your hope over and above everything else it's don't and taken from you. My parents had a best friend a year ago, found out in April she was talking about me on Reddit. Confronted her and she didn't deny it or accept it. After I broke things off with her in our friendship, she went and tried to get her then boyfriend to tell my wife I had feelings for her. Of course this is a lie, as I had all evidence to prove otherwise. Her on the other hand had deleted our conversations due to her BF being controlling. Oh, and she also tried and get our group of friends against me despite me, again, having evidence that disproved her lies. Good riddance. Haven't tried to get another best friend since her. You know what, just make a list as it's so much easier. My stepmom constantly reading my diary and then making fun of me to my dad and family friends about things I wrote. Never being able to count on my mom for anything. Even basics like feeding myself were so irregular I was never able to count on anyone but myself since my toddler years. My stepmom looking around my room and then publicly humiliating me for things she didn't like. My sister stealing from me. Everything from jewelry to money to art supplies. She stole everything, and it was terrible. My mom not believing me when I told her husband raped me and her getting angry and slapping me for spreading lies. My stepmom being left to watch me, and even when I hid in my room and never even saw her that day cause I hated her. When my dad would come home she would tell him I was horrible to her. At my mom's I was always given extravagant gifts for my birthday or Christmas. Think like a personal TV, Wii, PlayStation, DSi, etc. I hated it cause a month later I knew it would get taken and permanently given to my siblings/stepdad's kids. I never got to keep a single thing they gave me. But when I asked for simple things like my 10th birthday, for my mom to take me to the library for my birthday, to check out books I was called ungrateful. I love people now, but when it comes to things I genuinely care about or need I don't trust anyone anymore. I was the odd one out through elementary and most of middle school. Then when I finally made some friends, my best friend abandoned me out of the blue, and one of my other close friends turned out to be a liar and enjoyed toying with my emotions. People are liars. Only person I've ever dated was mentally and physically abusive. She also tried to drown me. Everyone I start to slightly trust goes away. I just show a slight bit of my mind and they go away. So, I don't trust anyone. It's probably better for them. People probably don't want to know how dark my mind can get, and I don't have to take a chance of getting ed over. I met someone. Turned out they were taking advantage of me and my body. Trust issues with parents, verbal abusive Bible. I may have bipolar, not sure which kind, but it will with me occasionally, and I hate my life being treated like. Growing up, I made a lot of friends online. I was really social IRL, but most of my deep friendships were made online. I met this big group of kids/young adults, and we hit it off pretty well. We got super close and shared our lives with one another. If something happened to one of us, we all emoted just like the person was in the same room as us. We made grandiose plans to meet one day, even going so far as to planning to pitch in on a mansion and having like 30 of us living there. When I decided to meet one of them, they all disappeared. At the same time, they just suddenly stopped existing. Their emails were all deactivated, all their social media was gone, they weren't in our forums anymore. All I have left are emails that are slowly being eaten away by each website patch and update. Granted, this was back when we all had flip phones, so all my texts saved to email, so it was a lot of emails. With all intents and purposes, it's like all the friends I grew up with and loved just died. All these individuals with goals and aspirations and personalities, and likes and dislikes and fears and memories, all gone. I've come to the unsteady conclusion that they weren't real. I think a small number of people, or just one person, was faking as all of them. Because of this, I don't try to be friends with people anymore. If anyone requests friendship, I just tell them that I don't make a very reliable friend, and that it's just not worth their time. I can't put my heart out there again, so I keep to myself. Years and years of betrayal from people of all walks of life. Grew up in a house with a borderline, narcissist, and psychopath all together. Anything could and was used against you in that house. You are since being cheated on. Most of my relationships involve someone sleeping with someone else without telling me, whether deep into a multi-year relationship, or it was never exclusive, and you were not special, you were just a penis. And there are better penises out there. EU sense abusive behavior in a relationship from women with a cluster B personality disorder. EU sense, whether or not, because being cheated on, almost all of my relationships have included a moment of OMG I feel so betrayed, that I don't even know how to respond right now. Being alive I guess. Not even sure, bullying maybe? My mom once asked me what music I listen to. That was apparently past my limit, and I shut down, as in completely stopped responding to her to any question. I couldn't even bring myself to shake my head. I just sat there awkwardly, even stopped breathing for a while, then got up, left without making eye contact, but managed to force a silent goodnight. God help me WTF. So many things, especially if someone says you can trust me, big nope. But I've been stolen from, taken advantage of, and something even worse. Plus I've seen 2 guys go to prison for so-called offenses. I'm not their innocent as I don't know the full story, but I'm 50 over 50 with the situation. I automatically assume the worst in everyone, because of the messed up things I have seen on the internet. Female coworkers who keep saying I'm just one of the guys, you can say whatever around me but they're not. At all. It got to the point I stopped a female friend to ask if I could remove a bit of fuzz from her hair, and she looked me deep in the eyes and asked, "Who hurt you? Just get it already." My psycho ex who I almost married. Christ, what a nightmare. I cannot really fall like that for any of my subsequent girlfriends, but it was probably for the best. Not the place nor the time for the full story, but being bullied throughout 1st to 4th grade with things escalating at end of 2nd grade. The teacher's logic throughout 1st and 2nd grade was always det ar aldrigen persons fell in a rtvan brit ankar. It is never one person's fault when 2 are fighting. Probably makes some sense when 2 kids are fighting over a shovel, but doesn't make as much sense when one kid smacks the other over the head with said shovel. Things escalate as I started to fight back and not put up with it, and all of a sudden everything was my fault, which then made it into a game for the bullies to me off, as in call me names, beat me, throw rocks at me, and spitting on me, and have me act, and then run to the teachers. I have even had teachers watch me get beaten up, or had rocks thrown at me, just standing there waiting for do something. Some of my friends turned their back on me throughout 4th grade. I had my Sony Ericsson's PWR Mini Pro slapped out of my hand and smashed up, and when I went to the teacher hoping that they would at least tell the kid off, but no, my phone, my problem, deal with it. One of my best friends also had her jacket cut up. She was also bullied, most girls are. I'm mean and horrible. This was sort of taking its toll on me, and I started to fall behind with my schoolwork, which went unnoticed as I'm generally quiet and well-mannered, and once they realized I was separated from my class and sort of got my own teacher, I managed to do 1.5 years of schoolwork in 1 year and catch up, and then the principal decided that I was going to be put in a special needs class with kids who couldn't even go to the toilet by themselves. And during the graduation or summer break celebration, one of my bullies, the worst one of them, were given a rose for his excellent performance as a comrades to GESM support student program they had. My parents had enough, and I switched school for 5th grade, stayed with that same school up until when I was supposed to start 8th grade, and it went bankrupt because the equivalent to a city council decided that the school wasn't allowed to stay in an industry zone. They later built a refugee home there, so that was utter bull. So I went back to public school again, and had some years. Then went to gymnasium, in my case a mechanics school, and became one of the top 5 students through the 3 years of that. Got through 1st grade with a record amount of sick day, and still got above average grades, a B in mechanics class, and was handpicked by my teachers for a special electrification program with 6 classmates, and was one of 3 in that group who got an apprenticeship on the other side of the car industry for 3rd grade. And all this with a storm at home. I took the summer off after my graduation to help my parents tend to my at the time very mentally ill younger sister who was in and out of the hospital the whole summer. Then I got my first real job and was taken advantage of and treated like with a head boss and then fired, and I got my revenge. I'm in the process of writing that story. And then my mentally ill sister went out of her mind and betrayed us. I got a new job, but with all the unfolding around me, a full-blown family crisis, my mental health rapidly deteriorates to the point where I started having panic attacks and I decided to leave. Not that I really had a choice, on good terms. The equivalent of CPS where such Hatson treated me like a dumb child, although I had been an legal adult for 2 years. So yeah, I have trust issues and doubt I will ever let anyone new into my life. Let's just say I'm glad my dad is dead. I think it started with mom being a physically abusive and compulsive liar. She has never kept her word on anything. Completely untrustworthy. And she loves gaslighting. The only person I trust, my granddad, was threatened hard enough by my mom to abandon me to her and won't give me refuge after he agreed to help me and let me live with him to get away from my mom. I was still a minor here. My heart hardened from here on. And even though I knew he helpless, but I cannot help feeling resentment about this. It started from there. Backstabbed by a brother. I had a crush on a guy, which I wrote about my feelings in my diary. He tore off the page and read it to the guy and they both laugh at me about it together. Know my brother for who he is. Didn't break ties until he tried to get rid of my ex-husband. Ex-husband who claimed undying love for me constantly even on the day he was gonna confess he been having an affair for 2 years behind my back and had decided he wanna be with her. This one was a mind. As a husband, he always behaved completely in love with me and always told me he was happy. We barely have conflict. There is a long list incidents of people who I trusted and build a long-term relationship with broke the trust. I deal with it now to just assume everyone will betray me in some manner eventually. Just enjoy the good times and brace for the bad. Even in my current relationship. A man who stood by me for 10 years now. I still wonder when he gonna break the news to me that he has been having relations with someone else as well. At the moment, he still claims I'm his one and only. But I cannot tell if it's true despite his actions are often very clearly loving towards me. It's just trauma from my ex-marriage. I don't bother kicking up or fuss or anything. I see no point of bringing this up since he done nothing to warrant my concerns. I just keep this inside, waiting to see how long he gonna pretend to love me. My ex-husband pretended for 9 years. So you know they can keep it up for very long. Why would they do that? It did happen, and I have no rational explanation, except they didn't know how to get out without hurting me. So they carried on the act. I know they do care about my feelings. The worst thing is, I feel even betrayed by several therapists I have seen. I felt going and there was just sitting down to listen to them tell me how much they don't like me as a person. Felt judged and put down. And I don't know why I'm seeing them for sometimes. Except for an outlet to talk about my struggles. I hope as professionals, anything I mention to them don't leave their rooms. Abandoned by best friends. Yes, during my divorce, my best friend of 7 years abandoned me. She basically told me to call her if I needed to talk and ghosted me. Which I still find it very weird as she seemed to loved being around me so much while I was married. I learned from this incident I cannot trust friends to pour out my emotional hurt. That's why I paid therapists to listen to that. At least it's their job. I learned to keep friends. You gotta never mention anything going wrong in your life. Good times friends only. Every woman I have ever been close to has hurt me badly. My mom destroyed my self-esteem, my aunts and grandma on her side of the family were not any better, and I had a series of toxic best friends that treated me like one way or another. Now I am terrified to form a close friendship with a woman, and will run screaming when one tries. When I was 17 I was heavily involved in a car club, and would spend a ton of time with the guys I knew from there, to work on our trucks and whatnot. The girl I was dating at the time wasn't much on the events, and never went with me, but I always made an effort to spend time with her as much as possible. One weekend she was working on her high school's play, so she was pretty busy. I was hanging out with the guys in the club and we were putting a lowering kit on my truck that I'd busted my working all summer for. I guess she didn't like it that I'd spent the money on that, and instead of talking to me about it, she called me and said she was pregnant, that she told her parents, and that her dad was planning on killing me. Her dad claimed to be a former army ranger, so on some level I believed it. Anyway, she told me I had to come over right that very minute, but I couldn't because my truck has no suspension on it. Being 17, I was really scared and nervous since I had plans that didn't involve raising a kid or being dead. Still, feeling like I needed to man up, one of the guys lent me his shop truck, and I drove to her house. When I got there, she acted like nothing was wrong and said she had a movie for us to watch. Apparently, the pregnant story was just a way to get me to the house. Her parents weren't even home, and in the moment I never did ask about the high school play that was supposedly going on. Like a dumb 17-year-old, I believed her when she apologized for it, and we didn't break up. I went back, finished my truck, then ended up leaving the club, which made me super depressed, so I could spend more time with her. About 6 months later, I was at TGI Fridays with a couple of friends and I see her come in, which I thought was weird since she told me that she had rehearsal. I thought they were maybe just on break or something, but before I could get up to go see her, this dude with dwarfism comes out of the kitchen and gives her a kiss, which was sort of entertaining since she was 5 minutes and 10 seconds. I get up, confront her about the dude tried to kick my and we break up. So here I'm without a car club, an ex-girlfriend who I caught cheating, and depression from losing things that I enjoy. Due to the depression, I never could bring myself to rejoin the club, and eventually sold my truck. Now, 17 years later, I still have trust issues because of it. Thankfully, my wife is understanding, and since I learned from that entire relationship, I was able to communicate with my now wife much better. I still do have depression, but it's treated and under control. Also, I still wish I had that truck, and have searched for it constantly on the internet for years. The last bit of info I have shows it in some podunk town in Indiana, that I actually went to with hopes of finding it. \*******WOW. I've never really wrote that story out before. I was really stupid as a 17-year-old. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.